Welch. Oh, okay.
Thank you very much. Where is it? Oh, yeah. Thank you. I want to talk about the impact of PBMs. We have a real crisis in Vermont with the pressure on local pharmacies. And my view, local pharmacies are absolutely essential to the delivery of quality health care. My experience, it includes personal experience. A physician will give you a prescription, and everybody's prescription is not necessarily how it ultimately has to be. And the capacity of a patient to go into a local pharmacy where there's some trust and knowledge, and have that physician be, or pardon me, that local pharmacist be able to essentially talk through what some of the reactions are and help that person get the medication utilization that is actually the maximum benefit is really essential to the well-being of the patient. And we've got a healthcare system that is just crushing primary delivery people in it, and they're the most essential in it. And the local pharmacies with the PBMs are having inflicted on them something that's truly astonishing in a capitalist economy, and that is they are allowed to sell it at price X, and 3 months later they get a clawback saying you owe us money. How in the world is that fair? Seriously, how in the world is that fair? And it's not just that it's a ripoff for the local pharmacist, it's crushing the capacity of those folks who care about the people in their community to be able to help the fellow citizens in their community, and it's just flat out wrong. So Senator Tester and I are working on something to try to protect our local pharmacies, and that's because we think those people are doing work that the folks we represent really, really need. So I'll ask each of you, how do we end this clawback? It's totally, completely unjustified and unfair. And we'll just go down the line and people can tell me, you for it or you against it?
Well, thank you, Senator Welch. As an independent pharmacist, I am against it because it's causing real harm. These fees are totally unpredictable and make it completely impossible to run a sustainable business.
Right. Just let other people do it. But thank you for your good work.
I concur. I think that DIR fees are not meaningful measures of quality. They've grown from around 7 years ago, 4% of total costs, to over 11% of total costs in our pharmacy today, and they're not anchored on any measure of quality. So if they were truly quality clawbacks, then I think that it would make sense. But again, in my practice, it would measure things like, have you had your hypertensive medications filled by our pharmacy? Have you had your cholesterol medications filled? And have you filled your oral oncolytics every 30 days?
You're giving me a headache. You have to deal with that?
So as a cancer specialist, frequently I hold medication because of toxicity to make sure patients can remain adherent and benefit from therapy. So I would say actually they facilitate poorer quality in the patients we serve, and they're anchored on unmeaningful measures. The other thing is, I think that you can't just say DIR fees go away and it has one effect on the economics of the healthcare ecosystem, because what happens is wholesale acquisition cost changes as DIR fees change, and so we would anticipate that the market reacts. But DIR fees clearly are not a measure of quality, and they diminish the ability for pharmacists to do meaningful work.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm a health economist, but sit in the School of Pharmacy at USC, so very much appreciate and have had firsthand experience of the important role that pharmacists play in our healthcare system. I think, I actually agree with Professor Mulligan that PBMs do need tools to effectively negotiate, right? That we do want our healthcare system to reflect the value of those negotiations. But when that happens in a highly opaque and complex market where PBMs are the one holding the information, And initiating many of these fees after the fact in somewhat arbitrary or confusing or in ways that, as we just heard, don't necessarily even reflect value, that's a concern and that's a problem.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm a technocrat.
My time is up.
Technocrats are the last ones that should be asked to what policy should be. We can tell you about the trade-offs and electric officials. And I'll remind you some of the trade-offs, and we practice this in the executive branch, that you're talking about regulating contracts, price controls. These can have side effects, unintended consequences that are pretty bad. And so at least we need to do the due diligence around what the trade-offs are. And one of the trade-offs are, if you're going to regulate contracts between pharmacies and other businesses, then that means that those businesses are going to tend to merge, and you're going to tend to have, as Senator Cruz and I were discussing, you'll tend to favor the big guys.
Dr. Mulligan, we have to move on, but I
Thank you, Madam Chair.
will send Senator Grassley to talk to you about that, because I'm pretty sure he doesn't agree with your interpretation. Neither do I, but I think more importantly, let's